said, let's just do 9/11. And they said 50 got that date. I said, okay, let's go.
Kanye West doesn't stand a chance. Now I'm gonna tell you that early. He brought his big brother with him. And his big brother ain't no competition for me.
The beef between 50 Cent and Kanye West just got even crazier. What used to be a few jokes and shady posts has now turned into something much bigger and more serious. These two have had issues for years, but now it feels personal. Kanye was suddenly kicked out of a courthouse and no one knows why. There were no court papers, no official reason, just Kanye storming out while cameras rolled. Meanwhile, 50 Cent has been acting way too quiet, or maybe too calculated. We're getting into all the drama today. But before we dive in, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Trust me, this rabbit hole runs deep. Now you might be thinking, weren't 50 Cent and Kanye West just two rap legends doing their own thing, making music and staying in their own lanes? But if you've been watching closely, you'd know that this isn't just two big names in hip-hop. This is a long-running rivalry fueled by competition, pride, power, and the kind of quiet jabs that never really stop echoing. The roots of their tension go back to one of the biggest moments in hip-hop history, September 11th, 2007. That day, both artists dropped major albums, Kanye West's Graduation and 50 Cent's Curtis. It wasn't just two release dates lining up by accident. This was a showdown. The industry hyped it up like a boxing match.
I'd like to see it do good.
I know, I think we're all kind of hoping for it. Things are going to be the best.
Pull it off.
Yeah, and you're presenting too. Aren't you presenting with Kanye?
Yeah, we present an award together.
See, now that's nice. In the spirit of camaraderie there. You think too much has been made of this big date, release date coming up in 2 days' time?
I think it's great. I think it's good for hip-hop.
Mary J just said to Tim Cash, she said, this is the kind of competition that hip-hop ought to be about.
Yeah.
It's bringing back the old kind of...
It's competitive without it actually being negative.
Turning anything negative, exactly.
It was 50 Cent's tough persona versus Kanye's bold creativity. And most of all, it was personal. 50 wasn't quiet about it either. He said publicly that if Kanye outsold him, he'd retire from the rap game. That's how sure he was. In an interview with Rolling Stone, 50 even bragged, "Mine will sell and his will still be on the shelf." It wasn't just confidence, it was cocky, vintage 50 energy. But when the first week numbers came in, everything flipped. Kanye's Graduation moved nearly 960,000 units. Curtis sold around 691,000. That's not just a loss. That's a full-blown LA major one. And while 50 tried to laugh it off, calling the whole thing good for hip-hop, the defeat cut deep. He didn't retire like he said he would. But fans never forgot that moment, because Kanye didn't just win the sales battle. He shifted the sound of hip-hop. That battle marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. Kanye's futuristic, emotional, and artistic style took over. 50's gritty street talk started to feel like it belonged to a different time. From there, things stayed quiet on the surface, but tension was always bubbling beneath. Over the next few years, the contrast between them grew louder. Kanye embraced fashion, design, and out-there ideas. He wore kilts on stage, walked Paris Fashion Week, and started building an empire that went beyond music. 50, on the other hand, stayed grounded. He was business-minded, sharp, and had no interest in being weird or artsy. He built power moves in film, TV, and branding, but always kept that tough edge. It didn't take long before 50 started clowning Kanye. Whenever Ye made headlines, whether it was for his style, his public rants, or his controversial relationships, 50 Cent was right there, cracking jokes. He turned Kanye into meme material. He'd post photos of Kanye in odd outfits and captions like, "What is he doing now?" or "Somebody help him." And while fans laughed, some started to notice that it was always Kanye being mocked, never the other way around. Kanye, for the most part, stayed silent. No diss tracks, no Instagram shots, not even a tweet. That silence? It only made things more interesting. But in private, sources say Kanye wasn't thrilled. One person close to Ye once claimed he called 50 stuck in his own image and believed 50 couldn't understand creativity unless it came with a bulletproof vest and a pair of Timberlands. The tension wasn't just about music anymore, it was two totally different worlds colliding. Then came 2018, a year Kanye was all over the place. Political rants, strange Instagram posts, outbursts, fashion chaos. It was peak Kanye being Kanye. And 50? He went into overdrive. Then came an unexpected twist. In 2022, both Kanye and 50 showed up at the same invite-only industry event in Los Angeles. Rumors flew immediately. Some say they exchanged words. Others claimed 50 laughed in Kanye's face after a short conversation. Fast forward to 2025, and the quiet jabs between 50 Cent and Kanye have evolved into full-blown digital mockery. This time, 50 didn't hold back. After Kanye was spotted showing up to court dressed in an all-white outfit, cool, composed, and strangely ceremonial, 50 Cent decided it was time to poke fun once again. He took to Instagram as he usually does, but this time with a twist.
In the middle, Kanye West. Kanye, why'd you show up today? You think about testifying?
Kanye, why are you here?
Kanye, who you in support of?
An AI-generated photo of himself, also in an all-white fit. Next to it, 2 real photos of Kanye stepping into the courthouse dressed head to toe in white. The post was designed to go viral, and it did. But it wasn't just about the fashion match. The caption took a sharper turn, dragging Kanye's wife, Bianca Censori, into the drama. 50 referenced that wild Grammys outfit she wore, the one that had fans and media buzzing for days, and threw a clear jab, labeling her with a not-so-subtle nickname and implying she should have been at court right beside Ye. The message wasn't just mockery, it was layered, a shot at Kanye's fashion. Now, speaking of court, people were shocked when Kanye West walked into a federal courthouse in New York City. He was dressed in all white, calm, and didn't say a word. No one expected to see him there. He wasn't on trial, he wasn't called as a witness, and he didn't speak to any reporters. Still, his presence quickly became a huge story. So why was Kanye even at court that day? The trial was for Sean Diddy Combs, a famous music mogul and someone Kanye has known for many years. Diddy is facing very serious charges, including sex trafficking, racketeering, and illegal parties where people say they were forced into things they didn't agree to. It's a big case with a lot of disturbing stories coming out, but Kanye didn't have to be there. He showed up on his own. That's why people started asking, what is his connection to all of this?
And Kanye West briefly made an appearance in the Sean Diddy Combs trial today. The rapper arrived with one of Combs' sons and told ABC News he was there to support Combs. He was not in the main courtroom and left about 20 minutes after arriving. Combs' personal assistant is testifying now under an immunity deal. Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His defense team says any sexual encounters were consensual. ABC's Rena Roy and legal contributor, criminal defense attorney Shauna Lloyd are outside that court. So, Rena, what's the latest here?
Yeah, well, Diane, I can tell you that we saw Kanye West walk into the courthouse here right behind us this morning, and our team got a chance to ask him, are you here in support of Combs? He nodded his head. He said yes. He then dropped off his electronics like all of us have to do going into federal court. He went into an overflow room to watch a little bit of testimony. He was just there for about 10 minutes before he then left. And interestingly, his arrival comes just a day after we heard from Jane. She was on the stand for days, an ex-girlfriend of Combs.
Kanye and Diddy go way back. They've known each other for over 20 years. At one point, Kanye even said Diddy was one of his biggest inspirations. Diddy built his own music label, clothing lines, and became one of the richest names in the industry. Kanye has always looked up to that. They've worked in the same circles, gone to the same parties, and supported each other's events from time to time. People wonder if he was ever at any of the parties that are now being brought up in court. Some think he might know more than he's saying. Others think he's just trying to stand by a friend when everyone else is walking away.
I think he did a t-shirt, a shirt or something to say free Puff and all this other stuff. So Kanye is on his, he's looking for the attention, and for him to be mentioned in the trial and they didn't let it go through, because the reason they didn't let it go through is because they said it wasn't pertinent to the charges that Puff was facing. So what happened, Jane went to Vegas and she was invited by allegedly Kanye West and his wife and them and everything like that. And they went to plays, they went to show, they went out to eat and everything. And then later on that night, they went to a hotel room. Whereas there's some other couples in there too and some other people. And there wasn't a freak off, but it was one of the guys who does the freak off with her.
That day, Kanye tried to go into the courtroom to watch the trial. But because he wasn't on the guest list, security wouldn't let him in. Instead, they sent him to an overflow room on another floor where the trial was being shown on video. He stayed there quietly for about 40 minutes. People who were in the room say he looked focused, but also kind of uncomfortable. Then, without saying anything to anyone, he left the building. Reporters were waiting outside to ask him questions, but he didn't say a word. He just got into a black SUV and left. Kanye has always been unpredictable. He'll disappear for months, then suddenly show up somewhere important, and people are left wondering what it means. That's exactly what happened here. His outfit, his timing, his silence, it all looked like a message. But no one knows what it really meant. Some people believe it's loyalty. Diddy has helped a lot of people in the industry, and Kanye might just be standing with someone he respects. No matter the reason, the timing was strange. That day in court, a witness was sharing serious details about what went on at some of Diddy's private parties. The witness said people were forced to sign NDAs, give up their phones, and then were pressured into things they didn't want to do. The story was emotional, and it was hard to listen to.
She said that that was a difficult question, and this has kind of been what Jane has used as a thread throughout her testimony, that she felt the threat of the roof, over her head being ripped from her if she stopped doing these hotel nights, as she called them. And so when she was pressed on that by Tenny Garagos, Jane saying that was a really difficult question for her to answer.
Kanye sat through some of it, then left. He didn't stay for long, but just being there was enough to make headlines. And it's not like Kanye needed more drama in his life. Over the past few years, he's been surrounded by controversy. From wild interviews to business deals falling apart to public arguments with friends and family, his life has been full of ups and downs. But showing up at a federal trial like this added a new twist that no one saw coming. Another piece of this ongoing drama is the connection between Diddy and the Kardashian family, and how that link also ties back to Kanye West. While Kanye's quick courthouse visit made headlines, there's a bigger web of relationships and quiet tensions behind the scenes that people are starting to talk about. Diddy has been close to the Kardashian-Jenner family for years.
For the bathroom, and this girl, cut in front of me, and I was like, "Excuse me, I'm next." And she literally just went boom, right in the face, and I was just...
He's been seen at their parties, attending major fashion events, and sharing moments with Kris Jenner, the powerful matriarch behind the entire brand. Their bond always seems strong, with Diddy often showing up at big Kardashian moments. Behind the scenes, they've shared the same circles: business deals, luxury events, and late-night Hollywood get-togethers. Now, with Diddy in jail and facing some very serious charges, that friendship is being looked at in a whole new light. So far, not a single Kardashian has visited him. Not in court, not in jail, not even a public message of support. That silence says a lot. Some people believe it's because they want to stay far away from the headlines surrounding Diddy, especially the ones involving the so-called freak-offs, which are being talked about in connection with the darker side of Hollywood parties and behavior.
So fun.
Well, I know you're known for the parties. When you think of a party or a good time, you think of Puff.
You do.
But we've been known to party with you a few times. What are you were just at Puff's birthday.
These wild events, now under investigation, involve accusations of drugs, pressure, and unsafe situations. They're not just rumors anymore. With lawsuits, federal raids, and more witnesses coming forward, Diddy's whole empire is under the microscope, and the Kardashians seem to be keeping their distance for a reason. Of course, they know the power of public image better than anyone. Getting tied to Diddy's name right now, even by association, could damage their brand. It's likely they're staying silent on purpose, waiting for things to play out before they make a move. But that silence is still loud, especially considering how close they once were.
Bunch of my friends. Diddy, Quincy, Justin Bieber,
So far,
French
so good.
Montana.
Do you even know half the people you're naming?
No.
She didn't go to bed. I haven't been to bed yet.
You haven't? I want to be Clay when I grow up, Court.
I got on a plane at 5:30 a.m.
Now let's bring Kanye into this. Kanye, who was once married to Kim Kardashian and part of the family, used to share that same social space with Diddy and the rest of Hollywood. Back when things were good, he was seen everywhere with the Kardashians. On the show, at events, even in business meetings with Kris Jenner. It was all one big, polished family unit. After the divorce, though, everything changed. Kanye's public outbursts, rants, and online drama pushed him further and further away from the family. He called out Kris, clashed with Kim, and even accused them of trying to control his image. It got messy fast, and eventually, Kanye seemed fully removed from the Kardashian world.
It's just like I still feel the need to not talk about it and protect it for my kids, and I always will feel that way, but God, if people knew, I just would never do that to my kids. It just is really crazy.
The hardest feeling to watch someone you really loved and you have a family with just be so different than who you knew.
I mean, imagine trying to explain this to a 9-year-old at this point, North, who I'm sure is hearing something, and maybe she won't say it. That's what breaks my heart.
She actually doesn't know. And that's what's so crazy.
Really?
Is when stuff is said, it's a chain to my whole household. No TV, only Apple TV. I can't risk a Access Hollywood coming
Or a
up
news story.
next, or anything on the news.
Now let's talk about what actually happened inside the courtroom that day, because things got intense. Kanye showed up quietly and left without speaking, but what was said while he was there shocked everyone. Witnesses talked about strange things found at Diddy's house, videos of private parties, and drugs being used during nights they called King Nights. It felt like people were finally getting a look at the secret world behind Diddy's public image. The first major witness that day was Andre Lemon, a Department of Homeland Security investigator who helped lead the high-profile raid on Diddy's mansion in Los Angeles back in 2024. When he took the stand, the entire courtroom sat up. He came with facts, not opinions. Lemon told the court that during their search, they found 900 bottles of Astroglide, a type of lubricant, and over 200 bottles of baby oil spread across different rooms. Yes, you read that right. That kind of detail isn't just strange, it paints a very specific picture of what kind of activities allegedly went on in those spaces. But that wasn't all. Lemon also said they discovered a stockpile of firearms, not just a few handguns, but AR-15 style rifles, Smith & Wesson long guns, and even a Ruger rifle. All of it locked away but fully functional. That led people to ask, what was Diddy preparing for? Or worse, what had he already done? Still, it wasn't just about weapons and weird supplies. Things really turned when Jonathan Perez took the stand. Perez used to be Diddy's personal assistant, someone who saw things most others didn't. He didn't just work for Diddy. He followed him from city to city, event to event. He had access to phones, iPads, hotel rooms, and secrets. Perez said that one day while working, he stumbled across something disturbing on a company iPad, a video of what Diddy allegedly called a freak-off. In that video, Perez claimed was a woman known in the case as Jane, one of Diddy's ex-girlfriends. According to Perez, these freak-offs weren't just wild nights. They were organized, filmed, and involved substances and activities that many are now calling abusive.
Former personal assistant Jonathan Perez testifies against Diddy. Jonathan Perez worked for Diddy from 2021 to 2024, and we heard Jane reference him a lot in her testimony. And she claimed that Jonathan was one of the assistants that would set up these freak-offs, and he was just granted immunity to testify against Diddy. And to Diddy's assistants in the 2021 to 2024 era, Diddy would reference these freak-offs as Wild King Nights. I've also heard this from the other assistant that was named Philip Pines, who was on the fall for Diddy. The government says, did you include honey in your setups for the Wild King Nights? Yes. Why? Honey, increases a man's libido. What lights would you bring? red, but they would change color. We'd get them at Target, Walgreens, or Amazon. Would you make purchases at the adult stores? Yes. Would staff do cleanups after the Wild King nights? Yes, I did it. It was in disarray. Sheets, towels, oils. We would go collect everything. What would they do after the Wild King nights? They would eat a meal and they would get an IV drip.
He went on to say, Diddy kept a Gucci pouch that was more than just a fashion item. Inside it, cash, cocaine, ketamine, Adderall, Xanax, and Molly. He also agreed that the King nights happened outside of business hours and not during any official company activity. Why does that matter? Because the government is trying to prove that Diddy used his staff, his money, and his business to run illegal activities. If the wild parties happened on his own time, it gets harder to argue that his company was part of a criminal ring.
All that fame, all that industry power, all that money, and look, it means nothing. It means not. So this is what I'm showing you. So I'm showing you that if you look at the pursuit, look in rap, look at the pursuit of riches in rap, jewelry, cars, just all material items. Think about it and tell me this ain't by design. Then check it now with Diddy. Look at him. That money means nothing. That money, they've literally showed him, yo, look how long your career was, look how much things you've been involved in the music industry.
Yeah.
Like, this guy had deals with MTV, VH1, record deal after record deal. Man was, let's keep it real, this is the brother who gave Biggie his opportunity. Biggie, you know, a man who is going to live on in rap. There's certain men in rap that are immortalized.
Yes.
Like their music will always live on because of the era they came from. Think about that, and Diddy you can't get over this, because in the future, if they make a movie about his life, this is what the movie will be based on.
Yes.
The first 30 minutes will show his come up, and the rest will be about this. You can't come back from this. So they've showed you what real power is.
Steele was trying to show the court that these nights, however strange or disturbing, weren't technically work-related, which could hurt the prosecution's bigger argument. Still, even with that one detail in Diddy's favor, the overall picture wasn't pretty. The courtroom that day was tense. Not only were the allegations shocking, but the level of detail made it impossible to ignore. These weren't vague claims. There were names, videos, drugs, weapons, and behaviors that people had only whispered about, now laid out in federal court. And then came a strange twist in the middle of everything. Juror number 6. According to the court's internal records, this juror may have given conflicting answers about where he actually lives. Some information didn't match up, and that threw a wrench into the trial. If it turns out he wasn't honest about his address or where he spends most of his time, the judge could remove him from the jury, which could slow down the whole case or even cause a mistrial if more issues pop up. Judge Arun Subramanian hasn't made a final decision yet, but said he would rule on it next week. So, where is this whole case really going? At this point, the case has officially crossed over from just rumors and headlines to something real and dangerous. The federal government is fully involved, and that means things are getting very serious. This isn't just a civil lawsuit or celebrity gossip. This is a criminal investigation, and Diddy is right at the center of it. The prosecutors believe he didn't just throw wild parties. He may have used his power, money, and staff to create an environment where women were hurt, people were silenced, and illegal things happen regularly. The court has only seen the beginning, and everyone knows the federal government doesn't move unless they feel they already have enough. So now, people are waiting to see how far this will go and how deep it really runs. From here, we're likely to see more witnesses come forward. The prosecution is building a pattern, showing that Diddy's behavior wasn't just private or personal, but that he used his team and his businesses to help run what could be called a criminal operation. If they prove that, it could fall under the RICO Act, which is a serious federal law originally used against gangs and mafia leaders. That means long prison sentences, asset seizures, and a complete collapse of his empire. So what could happen to Diddy next? If the evidence keeps piling up and the witnesses hold strong under cross-examination, Diddy could be facing decades behind bars. These charges are no joke. Even just the racketeering or trafficking charges alone could carry 10 to 20 years. And if more people come forward with additional stories, and especially if they can link his actions to his companies or staff, then it becomes even harder to defend. Right now, Diddy's legal team is trying to push back, saying some of this happened in his personal life and wasn't connected to his businesses. That matters in court, but only to a point. If the court believes he used his company resources or paid people to help cover things up, then it becomes a bigger problem. That's what the prosecutors are trying to prove.